February 2004, Mayor Daley announced the appointment of our guest speaker as the Commissioner of Aviation for the City of Chicago's airport system. He is responsible for overseeing all airport, terminal, airfield, and landside operations, maintenance, fiscal affairs, planning and capital development for Chicago's O'Hare and Midway International Airports. Our guest today is a United States Air Force veteran who served and received commendations for his service in the Persian Gulf War. He is a product of the Chicago public school system. He and his wife, Veronica, have 3 children, including a 7-month-old. Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to introduce the Commissioner of the City Department of Aviation, John Roberson. Commissioner?
Good afternoon. First of all, let me explain something. I come from the Baptist church tradition. I need some amens when I put something out. Makes me feel better. Makes me feel that I'm like, good afternoon. Good afternoon. That's a lot better. Very good, very good. First of all, I want to thank you, Jay, and the City Club for your invitation to speak before you this afternoon. I realize that I have an employment problem, so I've actually spoken before the City Club several times, but every time I speak in front of this group, I always have a different job. So, but I am appreciative of the opportunity to speak before the City Club because the City Club has such a great history and such a great reputation as a place and a forum for public and private sector leaders to talk about the pertinent and challenging issues that face our region. It has been 1 year since Mayor Daley appointed me as the Commissioner of Aviation. Leading the world's busiest airport and one of the country's fastest growing airport, Midway, is certainly exciting. And at times it's felt like drinking water out of a fire hose. But I have to tell you that I have really enjoyed it, and there is nothing else that I'd rather be doing. Because I really count it as an honor and privilege to serve the city of Chicago. There are so many different opportunities and so many things that we could be doing in life, but to have the opportunity to serve the citizens of our great city and our region is an honor, and it's a privilege. And each and every single day, those of us who are in public service should wake up understanding that it is a privilege. And maybe if more of us did that, we wouldn't have all of the issues that we have in the Sun-Times and the Tribune today. In 1927, Charles Lindbergh took off on his first transatlantic flight. And what's amazing is that 6 months after he did that, the first airport in Chicago was actually created. And while everyone certainly takes a look at O'Hare and they recognize it as the crown jewel in the national airspace system, really the first airport here in Chicago was Midway, or as it was known then, the Chicago Municipal Airport. That was the first airport to bring commercial service to our city. In 1928, over 41,000 passengers and close to 15,000 flights traveled out of Midway. And by 1929, Midway was the world's busiest airport. Within 7 years, the number of passengers served had increased by 60%. The impact of the airport on our local region was quickly recognized, and in 1945, an orchard field just northwest of the city of Chicago was selected as the site for the creation of a new airport, O'Hare Field. For you trivia buffs, that's why your bag tags say ORD and not O'Hare, in recognition of its origins as an orchard field. In its first year of commercial service at O'Hare, served 176,000 passengers. 4 of the original carriers that served O'Hare, United, American, Delta, and Air France, still serve O'Hare today. By 1962, O'Hare had expanded from a small 4-runway airport to a 72-acre airport that included 5 runways, including new cargo and warehouse facilities, new terminals, automobile parking, and car rental facilities. This allowed the city to transfer most of the commercial flight operations from Midway to O'Hare, increasing the number of passengers served at that particular airport by 10 million. giving it the title, the world's busiest airport. Today, O'Hare and Midway continue to provide the Chicago region with unmatched value and unmatched service. Midway is the home of our low-cost carriers such as Southwest and ATA and America West. These carriers bring competition to our marketplace that ensures that all of you are able to get the lowest possible fares to as many destinations as possible. Last year, we celebrated the completion of our Midway Terminal Development Program. This project increased our gate capacity from 29 to 43 gates, and also allowed us to ensure that we would be able to handle the projected flow of traffic well into the future. O'Hare holds the distinction of being the only dual hub airport in the country, with over 200 nonstop and direct flights. Bill, you're part of that, all over the world. Since 9/11, traffic has certainly increased, and people are flying again, and that's a good thing. However, this increase in growth is also causing delays, not only in Chicago, but delays all around the country. Unfortunately, O'Hare holds the unique distinction of having the worst on-time arrival and departure record in the country. The FAA and the DOT, Department of Transportation, felt that the delays had gotten to a point where they needed to step in and take corrective action. In 2004, the FAA held a number of different meetings with both American and United to seek voluntary reductions in order to de-peak our schedules during the busiest times of the day. And after 2 rounds of reductions through the spring and summer of last year, the FAA and DOT then called for meetings in Washington that included all of the airlines that serve O'Hare, as well as the city of Chicago. During these meetings, the decision was made to take a more formal action to restrict flights at O'Hare. Today, O'Hare is restricted to 88 arrivals per hour, down from a maximum of 115 to 120 arrivals per hour. As we attended these meetings, the city of Chicago raised its concerns about artificially capping flights in the Chicago area. The reason for it is very simple. To cap flights artificially at O'Hare is contrary to market and puts Chicago at a competitive disadvantage. Some of you probably recall the last time the federal government got involved in temporary flight restrictions. It was initiated in 1968, and that temporary flight restriction lasted until Congress took action in 2000. We don't need to return to that type of regulatory framework. And now the federal government is indicating that through a new proposed rule of flight caps, that flights at O'Hare will remain capped artificially until April of 2008. This artificial cap not only hurts our foreign flag carriers that come to Chicago, but it also hurts our domestic carriers by limiting flights during the busiest times of the day. Now, while we certainly agreed that because of the delays and congestion, that there needed to be some action taken so that we can minimize delays, it is very important that everyone understand that when we decide, or when the federal government decided, to place caps on O'Hare, it has a severe economic impact on us. It's anticipated, based upon the FAA's reports, that air traffic is going to continue to grow over the next 10 years. Last year alone, Chicago O'Hare processed over 75.5 million passengers. Midway processed 20 million. And it's projected that over the course of the next 10 years, Midway will top 30 million, and we will see an additional 20 million at O'Hare. When we cap flights artificially, it really impacts the businesses and many of you in this room. Think about this. Every single day, flights come in that carry everything from fish to flowers. They carry people from Chicago to points around the world. Those of you who are interested in exploring the Asian market are now going to be artificially capped from being able to go to those markets because of these flight restrictions. What does that mean for our region? It means that now airlines will have to make business decisions about whether it makes sense to operate O'Hare and how many flights they should operate at O'Hare. And realizing that this is a very competitive industry, it means that my counterparts at Atlanta and New York, LA, Dallas, will now be looking for opportunities to expand the frequency of their flights and their routes, putting Chicago and our companies at a competitive disadvantage. So we have to make sure that even though we recognize that in the short term we have to do some things in order to de-peak, in order to deal with delays and congestion, it should not be long term, it should be temporary, And we should make sure that we try to make it as painful as possible for the federal government not to ensure that we don't spend another 30 years with artificial caps at O'Hare. Many of the legacy carriers have indicated that international travel in these routes are really the only areas where they have the opportunity to grow and to generate profits. And they're seeing their revenues grow in those markets. Many of the companies in our region and around the Midwest are now taking a look at Asia, and particularly China, in order to expand into. So it's important to our region, it's important for jobs, that O'Hare be able to operate efficiently and that be able to operate effectively. 2 weeks ago, the Chicago Council on Foreign Relations held a summit here to discuss the status of global aviation. And during that discussion, an economist from the University of Chicago stated that just as airlines must compete, cities compete as well. Cities that will ultimately win will be those that build infrastructure that will allow for the efficient flow of people and commerce. If Chicago is going to be competitive in the global marketplace, then we must ensure that we have the infrastructure in place that will meet not only today's needs, but tomorrow's needs in the marketplace as well. That's why the mayor's foresight in proposing the O'Hare Modernization Program in 2000 was so important. The O'Hare Modernization Program, led by my friend and colleague Rosie Andolino, it's nice to have friends that have $6.6 billion just lying around, is doing a great work in making sure that she is preparing O'Hare along with our Department of Aviation staff for the future. Our modernization will provide O'Hare with an updated runway configuration, a new terminal, new western access to our airport, and the benefits of the O'Hare Modernization Program are clear. A potential annual savings of over $700 million for airlines and passengers, 195,000 new jobs, and an additional $18 billion into our regional economy. We are still waiting on the FAA's approval, which we anticipate will come this September, and we anticipate that the first runway will come online in late 07, early 08. So we know that the long-term solution is the O'Hare Modernization Program that will give us the competitive advantage that we need going forward. But we also have to focus on the here and now. So what are we doing today to ensure that the Chicago airport system remains competitive? Our strategy really focuses on 5 things. We have to ensure the safety and security of the public as they travel through our airport. We must provide passengers with a world-class travel experience. We must achieve double-digit growth in our non-airline revenues. We must control and reduce our operating costs, and we have to ensure the professional development of our people. I want to talk briefly about each one of these. The traveling public needs to have a comfort level that when they come into the airport, that they're going to be safe. The Chicago airport system achieves this in a lot of different ways. The Chicago airport system has the benefit of having the Chicago Police Department serve as our official law enforcement officers. Having that uniform presence throughout the terminal gives people a comfort level just as it gives you a comfort level in your communities to have a police car or a policeman walk down the street. We also have our Department of Aviation Special Police, who are responsible for securing the perimeter of the airport to ensure that there are no intrusions. We are also utilizing technology. We are continuing our progress in installing hundreds of cameras that will take a look at all of our public areas in the airport, but will also be focused on our key assets at our airports as well, and to monitor those activities to ensure that people are safe. These cameras are not only linked to our emergency center at O'Hare, but they're also linked to the 911 center downtown. This gives the city of Chicago an expanded opportunity to be able to monitor situations as they progress so that we can be provided the right type of resources to address any emergency that may come across. It also ensures that there will be timely information transmitted to decision makers downtown in response to those emergencies. We're also exploring new technology as it relates to safety, things that will allow us to prevent runway incursions. Runway incursions typically occur when someone crosses an active runway when there's a plane approaching or taking off. Can also present a dangerous situation for not only the people in the vehicle, but obviously for the plane as well, and the aircraft and those around it. So we're taking a look at technology that will allow us to be able to monitor when vehicles on the ground approach the runways and to give them alerts so that they can not cross those active runways and create potentially dangerous situations by of being able to avoid potential collisions or having to do emergency fly-arounds by aircraft that may be on approach. Security is absolutely critical, and I know that everyone here at some point or another has been frustrated by that security process. I'm sure, is there anybody that hates taking off their shoes? I have to do it every single day. Got to take the shoes off, you have to take your jacket off. But ladies and gentlemen, I will tell you that it is absolutely necessary to ensure the safety of our aircraft and the safety of every single passenger. For us simply to complain or to turn a blind eye to the real security concerns that have presented themselves since 9/11 is something that we cannot turn a blind eye to, and we have to do the things that are necessary in order to ensure your safety. And so we work very closely with the TSA to ensure that we have enough screeners, to ensure that we have enough equipment to do the types of things that we need to do. So security is always going to be something that is extremely important to us. But something else that's important to us as well is making sure that we provide you with a world-class experience as you travel through our airport. As I said, last year we had over 75.5 million passengers come through O'Hare and 20 million come through Midway. And while each airport may serve a very specific market niche, one thing has to be consistent, and that is the customer experience. And that experience needs to be a great one. Passengers, because of security requirements, are spending more time ever in airports. Some would say more time than they would like. Nonetheless, every passenger has certain expectations. And what I've identified is that there are really three types of passengers. There is the first passenger who wants absolutely nothing to do with us. The only thing that they want to do is to come through our airport, get on a plane, and go where they have to go. They would be perfectly happy flying out of a barn. They would even be happy with going onto the ramp area and simply climbing up stairs, getting on the plane, getting where they have to go, and not having to deal with the airport at all. Then there is a second customer that wants to come into the airport and recognizes that there is going to be time that has to be spent there. They're willing to buy a bottle of water. They're willing to buy a newspaper, maybe even muffin, maybe even a pizza. But they recognize that all of the things that we have to go through for travel are simply a part of the experience. They have resigned themselves to that, and they bring their books, they bring their laptops, and they do work as they're waiting to get on their flight. And then there are people who absolutely love traveling. They get up in the morning from the time they start packing, and all they think about is the travel experience. They get there, and they want valet service at the curb. They would love to have 20 skycaps to do nothing but carry their bags from the front curb all the way through security. They want to come in and they want spas. They want sit-down restaurants. They want to be pampered. They want to be treated special. And you know what? Those customers have a place in our airport system as well. And so our challenge is, as an airport system, is how do we make sure that we're providing each and every single customer that customized and special experience that meets each of their needs? I want to ensure one thing. This is not something that we're going to simply do kind of off the seat of our pants. We are very focused on doing this. We have a great customer service plan that is being implemented by our Director of Communications, Kristen Cabanban, because we want to make sure that as you come through the airport, that as you think about leaving Chicago or as you're coming into Chicago, we recognize that that is the first and maybe the only impression that you may ever have of our city. So we have, over the last few weeks, been soliciting comments through focus groups and surveys. And in fact, I would encourage everyone, there are index cards on your table. If you have something that you would like to suggest, if you have a complaint, we'd be more than happy to hear it because we want to understand what you as the traveling public need in order to make sure that we're serving you appropriately. And so we need to hear from you. But we are also taking a look at exciting things that we can do in the airport. Anybody tired of just having hot dogs? I don't know about you, I am. I'm tired. I'm at the airport all the time, and sometimes I got to run down, I got to get a Polish, I got to get a hot dog, I got to get pizza. And while we've got good concessions, we can still have some great concessions, which is why we are really focused and why we have gone out and we are soliciting RFPs for a variety of different things. We are going to be focused on issuing an RFP later on this year for a sit-down restaurant that would be accessible by landside. Why? Because there is a huge market that I feel is being missed there. We are also taking a look at new retail shops that we will be able to provide a variety of choices and things there in the airport. Right now we have a number of retail operations, Wilson Goods. We have The Grove. We have, it amazes me that people, one of our most profitable concessions is Mont Blanc. Now, I don't know about anybody else. If I came home with a $300 pen, my wife would probably kill me. But those are the types of things that people are looking for. We took surveys and we asked people, we said, what are one of the things that you would love to see? People said that they would love to have a spa where you can get a manicure, where you can get a pedicure, where you can get a facial. Now, gentlemen, you know, if you're into pedicures, you're going to have your opportunity as well, because the new spa that we're taking a look at bringing in is going to be able to address everyone's needs. Yeah, really. So upgrading our travel experience is certainly very important to us, because we recognize that as people are coming through the airport, there's an opportunity for them to purchase there at the airport, and we've got to make sure that we're meeting those customer needs. We've got to make sure that we have a variety of choice and things that our passengers would like to see. Like any business, you have to continue to grow, and you will find that you will slowly become inefficient and you will become non-competitive in the marketplace if you don't. And the airport industry is no different. Certainly since the aviation industry has certainly faced its share of challenges since 9/11. Last year alone, the industry lost over $9 billion. Record fuel costs, competitive airfares by low-cost carriers, inefficient cost structures of legacy carriers are just a few of the reasons. And so we as an airport system must be innovative and creative in how we grow our non-airline revenue areas and identify new opportunities for growth. Why? Given the economic challenges that our airline partners face, every single dollar of cost that we impose upon them through rates and charges means that they have to make choices about the types of capital projects and about the level of operations that they will have at our airports. Projects that are critical to maintaining our infrastructure would get delayed. So increasing the long-term cost of our airlines because of increased operation and maintenance costs is something that we simply cannot do. The non-airline revenues that we generate are used to help offset the costs to the airlines that pay for the entire operation of the airport. And that's something that people need to understand. There is not a single tax dollar, not state taxes, not property taxes, nothing supports the airport. The airport is supported solely by our airline partners. The airlines the non-airlines that we create help to offset those costs to the airlines. And when we increase revenues, those revenues can be used to fund projects and to offset the cost that we charge to those airlines. I've indicated that food and beverage concepts are one of the ways that we improve customer service, but it also helps to increase revenues. I've directed my staff and consultants to identify new concession opportunities in the airport, which includes moving our administrative functions like finance, real estate, and personnel to space outside the terminal building and to take away prime space out of the terminal. I also asked them to take a look at how much money, how much revenue would we be able to generate if we were able to move those offices out. Now, those of you who are real estate developers, you don't have to admit it, but those of you who are in real estate recognize that you wouldn't take the prime space that you have in your building and simply use it for administrative space, because it has the ability to generate revenue. So we in government have to think in a much different way. We're going to take our space, we're going to take all of our back room operations, and we're going to move them to another section of the airport so that we can use that square footage to generate more revenue for our airport. And as I asked the consultants to take a look at, once we move out and once we identify new opportunities to generate revenue in the airport, what would we be able to generate as it relates to that revenue? I have to tell you, the results were really amazing. Based upon the numbers that we've taken a look at, we have the potential, not that it will happen, all of it, but we have the potential to generate an additional $40 million in non-airline revenue, simply by moving out of the space that we're in, identifying new space in the airport where we can generate new revenues. And what does that $40 million mean? It means that I don't have to charge Bill Hood as much for rents. But it also means it gives us the opportunity to fund those types of projects that sometimes get deferred because the industry simply is not in a position, and our airline partners are simply not in a position to be able to fund those types of initiatives. In addition, we're going to be taking a look at increasing our advertising. We asked Clear Channel, who is our consultant, to think out of the box and come up with new innovative things. And as a result of taking a look at that, we are going to be able to recognize, going forward, over $12 million in new revenue that will be generated. We're also taking a look at installing new cost control equipment at both of our airports to ensure that there is accurate and effective collection of our revenue. In the future, we're also going to examine opportunities to increase our revenues through collateral development on airport land. But like any business, we must also look for ways to reduce our costs and operate more efficiently. In one of my first meetings with the airlines, one of the things that I promised them is that we would run the airport like a business, and that we would look under every rock and we would look in every corner to try to identify ways that we could save them money and ways that we can operate more efficiently and operate more productively. But unfortunately, government's culture encourages spending in order not to lose funding rather than a strategic approach that focuses on funding priorities to bring value to our partners and our passengers and to help us to achieve strategic goals. Since 9/11, the Chicago airport system has tried to do its part in helping our airlines, and we have saved them literally millions of dollars by deferring projects, by refusing to hire and putting on hiring freezes, by reducing positions within our budget, by restructuring our debt profiles to provide greater debt service relief in the short term as they try to stabilize themselves in these tough economic times. We have looked at other things as well. In order to achieve some cost savings and more importantly, to achieve greater performance efficiencies and flexibility, we decided that we would privatize 2/3 of our custodial workforce. We've also decided to reorganize our facility management group so that we can implement a terminal manager model similar to a project manager model that will provide one person, one point of accountability for each terminal. This will provide greater coordination and greater management oversight on a 24/7 basis so that we can optimize the performance of all of our assets and our facilities. Our airline partners will now have one person to talk to when a problem arises in their respective terminals. And what impact will this have on our passengers? These managers won't be wedded to a desk, but they will be walking the terminal and looking proactively for problems to help you as you travel through and to look for ways that we can improve the airport experience. Some of you may have read, and I realize that probably the reason why this room is sold out is for one of two reasons. Either because you think that I'm giving away free airline tickets or you're here to volunteer to clean the bathrooms with us the next time. But I will tell you that that experience was absolutely critical for our management team because what it gave us the opportunity to do is two things. Number one, it gave us the opportunity to really understand a core business that we have. There is nothing worse than going into a dirty bathroom. And that image has the ability to taint both visitors and people that are leaving our airport. So it was important for us to do that. But it also sent a great message to the rest of our 1,200 employees that there is absolutely, positively no task that is too big or too small when we're talking about trying to serve and do what's best for our city and do what's best for our passengers. We are also in the early stages of implementing a just-in-time warehouse program that will reduce waste of materials and supplies, and that will help us to reduce capital that's tied up in inventory. We're able to maintain our 05 budget at 04 levels in spite of the fact that we had to take a $10 million hit in contractual and regulatory requirements that increased our cost. We're looking at everything from the types of garbage bags that we purchase to requiring our administrative staff to empty their own paper baskets at a centralized location on the floor so that our custodians cannot focus on cleaning Department of Aviation offices, but that they can spend more time cleaning the bathrooms and the concourse where you travel. The last part of our strategy, thank you very much. Get an amen at least once. Thank you very much. The last part of our strategy really focuses on our people. And it's very important, as many of you in your private businesses understand, if you don't have the right people in the right place doing the right things, I don't care how great your strategy is, you will fail. And so we are going to focus on making sure that we are developing our people in a professional way. Those that work at McDonald's know a little bit about hamburgers. That's their business. That's what they focus on. And so it is absolutely critical that those that work in the Department of Aviation understand the aviation industry. I don't care whether you're a clerk that simply processes invoice payments, whether you're a custodian, whether you simply work in concessions. It is important that we understand the industry. So we are going to be investing a lot of time and energy in making sure that our staff understands everything there is to know about the airline business. And why? Because we're trying to create a professional and fair and performance-based environment. Given our mandate to do more with less, there simply is no room for people who aren't willing to learn and continue to grow. And one of the things that I have found as I have gone through government and worked in these various departments, one thing that I have made absolutely clear, I don't care who you are, I don't care where you work, I don't care what your politics are. If you don't do your job, I will fire you, and I won't even give it a second thought. We have to make sure that we operate like a business and that we are bringing value both to our city taxpayers, to our passengers, and the airlines. This is going to be no different. So by making sure that we are developing our people, we're going to ensure that we have a pipeline of knowledgeable and capable people with the expertise to ensure the safe and efficient operation of our airports. You know, in 1903, the Wright brothers at Kitty Hawk launched the Wright Flyer. And because of that, it launched a new course and charted a new course that would change the world and mankind forever. Just 24 years later, Chicago, once a swampy marshland settled by Jean-Baptiste Point du Sable on the north bank of the Chicago River, opened its first airport. And look at us now. When our country expanded beyond the 13 colonies west to the Mississippi, and as Lewis and Clark explored the western frontier all the way to California, we knew that we would face great challenges, but more importantly, we knew that there were great opportunities before us. So the question is, what is the next great frontier that faces our city and our region? I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I know exactly what that answer is, but what I do know is that the Chicago airport system is going to be a part of it and is going to be instrumental in achieving it. Connecting people for the exchange of ideas, to provide a means for different people and cultures to interface, to facilitate the exchange of commerce that creates jobs on both sides of the globe, or if it's simply ensuring the ability for a mother or father to arrive home in time to watch a soccer game or a baseball game, or simply to allow you the opportunity to tuck your children in at night. That is a part of who we are, and that is part of what we do. And we are committed, my team and myself, to making sure that we operate an airport system that is going to ensure that Chicago always remains at the forefront, that we are always competitive. More importantly, that we are always number one. And in being number one, it means that it is going to take each and every single one of us to do some heavy lifting. We're going to do our part by making sure that we are working with our airline partners to make it profitable for them to operate here, that we have a competitive environment that makes it possible for you to be able to travel anywhere in the world so that you can connect business and ideas. That's our pledge to you. We're going to work hard each and every single day, and we're going to get up each and every single day making sure that we're doing the right things to make sure that the Chicago airport system, our region, is important and that we remain competitive. Lastly, we would not be able to do the things that we do but for our partners that surround Chicago O'Hare. That's why the O'Hare Noise Commission is so important. It represents communities from all around the Chicago region, around O'Hare Airport. And without them, we would not be able to achieve the things that we do. They are really responsible for making sure that they are constantly going out and telling people about the things that are going on. And it's important that as a Chicago airport system, that we are good neighbors. Through the O'Hare Noise Commission, we have spent literally millions of dollars to improve homes by insulating them from noise, by working with the airlines to make sure that as planes are taking off, that they take a path that reduces the amount of noise and impacting those communities. And so it's important that we all work together. It's not just a Chicago thing, because this region needs to continue to grow and to be profitable, for our companies to be able to grow, and for jobs to continue to be able to be created. So with that, you have my pledge and the pledge of my team that we're going to do the right things and that we're going to ensure that the Chicago airport system continues to move forward in the future. Thank you very much. Now for the rest of my speech. No, we're going to take questions at this time. Yes, sir.
Commissioner, my name's Grant Linsky. I'm a City Club member. Actually, it's a comment and a question. It has to do with the street side of your operation. Over the last couple of years coming in and out of the airport, we've had trouble with ground transportation. There seems to be a lack of coordination with getting taxi cabs to various terminals that I've come through. I don't know what the procedure is for you and your staff to monitor this, but I think it does a disservice and leaves a bad taste for arriving passengers, whether you live here or you're visiting, that there isn't sufficient ground transportation to get you out of the airport facility once you've claimed your baggage and need to move on. The lines are long sometimes. Sometimes there's just a lack of cabs. I don't know how you monitor the inbound flights, I mean, with the airlines, but there's something that's disconnected, and this continues to go on time and time again.
No, I appreciate your comments, and certainly that will be something that will be the focus of a meeting this afternoon, I promise you. Any other questions? Everybody loves the airport. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. Well, if there are no more questions, yes, ma'am. The question was concerning when the TSA first took over, when people have to take off their shoes, that at the end, as you go through security and get through the magnetometer, that there were shoe horns there to help people put their shoes on. So I will definitely talk with them about shoe horns. I will. No, but really, it's very important that we do that, because if we don't give the TSA feedback, then they will do like any other regulator, and they will simply say that everything is fine. That's one of the reasons why the TSA changed its procedure as related to doing physical checks of women, because there were complaints about people feeling uncomfortable about how the TSA were conducting those body checks. And as a result of complaints, that's why they were able to change it. So, no, anything that we can get the federal government to do is always a good thing. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you. My name is Robert Cole. I own Sunhour Helicopters in Lansing. Not particularly looking for a response, but just to bring to your attention and everyone here of the need for a heliport in downtown Chicago. We're constantly getting calls from movie production companies, McCormick Place attendees, time-sensitive business travelers who would like to get from O'Hare Airport down into the Loop in 12 minutes as opposed to an hour and a half. And these are calls that are a regular, common occurrence at our end, and not looking for a response from you other than just to alert you to the fact that those kinds of things are in fact going on, and that is something I believe that your office needs to address.
That's why I'm so excited about the new development at Block 37 that has been talked about, where there is going to now be, once it's developed, there will be a check-in terminal there in the basement of Block 37 that will allow passengers to get on O'Hare Express and be able to get from downtown to the airport within a matter of 20 to 25 minutes. It is an exciting thing that I know that CTA is leading, and it is going to literally take a lot of people off of the roadways and be able to get people back and forth. But I will certainly talk with folks about the heliport issue. Yes, ma'am. The question was about the construction coming into the airport as you come in through 190. Mannheim is cut off. Actually, what's happening is a very important project where they're actually fixing the railroad bridge, and they're also fixing the bridge there at Mannheim. Part of a long-term plan that we have is to try to improve ground access into the airport. So this is one of those collateral projects that have been going on for a couple of years. I know that the main construction portion is going to be completed in May, because I know that people have been delayed even coming out of the parking garage, and it's actually backed traffic up quite a bit. But we have to work through it for another couple of months. But once it's finished, we will be able to restore the traffic flows to where they were before, and really focus on trying to get the other roadway projects done that we need to make sure that people can get in and out of the airport efficiently. Bill? Absolutely. The question was, is there a suggestion box or a website or email address where you can provide suggestions and criticisms? There is one, jroberson@o'hare.com. Write it down. jroberson@o'hare.com. I'm a firm believer that one of the things that I have to do is I need to hear from our customers. And as I hear those things, And I realized, as I explained the 3 different types of customers, I realized that there are people that have very high expectations and very low expectations, and some that may even have unreasonable expectations. But everyone deserves an answer to their question. And so if you send it to jrobertson@o'hare.com, I will make sure that we get it funneled to the right person, and we will get you an answer. Absolutely. I love these amen. You're going to have to come to my church now. Any other questions? None. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Jay, thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you. Let me give you a little gift here.